Welcome to another edition of the Husker Fans in Montana podcast. I'm here with BB.
How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. And on the phone, got a special guest, Jeff. Jeff, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys tonight?
Really good. I know we tried to get you on a little video, and maybe we'll get you on again when we get that ironed out. But at least we can hear your lovely voice from Omaha, Nebraska.
Right. Yeah, I don't know about the lovely part, but you can hear me, bro.
Well, it's a manly, distinctive voice.
There we go. Very authoritarian. Now, we spoke on Friday. You were on the road with your two sons, Nate and Jack, out to Boulder, Colorado, to watch our beloved Huskers take on those CU Buffs, and kind of wanted to get from you what it was like being in the stands for that game.
You know, all the stories I had heard about, back in the 80s and 90s and probably 2000s with Colorado fans, I can't say that we ran into that bunch of people. It's quite a bit smaller stadium than what Memorial Stadium is, so there's a lot less people. But
right.
We had one individual in our section that was obnoxious, and by about the beginning of the fourth quarter, he'd gotten to a point where I think they were looking to escort him out. But other than that,
it's a pretty facility, isn't it?
Oh,
it is a beautiful
yeah.
setting. I got to give him credit there, but quite a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And just one a-hole, that's not bad.
Yeah, that was for our whole section. There was really nobody terrible in that whole section. We sat down in kind of the corner of the end zone, on the end zone side where whatever that is, the black stuff that says Colorado behind the end zone there.
Right. And we've got the pictures up for you. Unfortunately, obviously you can't see them.
Yeah. So if you were looking at the goalpost from like the 10-yard line, we would have been off to the right side, probably about 2/3 of the way up there in the corner, kind of.
Okay.
But I thought the ease of getting there, like we had to park at East Stadium. They shuttled us over. We got off the shuttle. It was easy to get through the gate, easy to find our seats. It was a pretty pleasant experience. Like I said, outside of just one guy running his mouth the whole time, it wasn't bad at all.
Well, we've got a video that you gave us. We're going to pop up and take a look at right now. It's just swings around and gets a look at the crowd. Get some of the sounds out there.
It was a beautiful day. You and the boys enjoyed it, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, it was a nice early start. We got up there. We were a little worried when we saw the traffic when we first got there because we were there about 50 minutes to an hour ahead of time. But the going and parking at East Campus and then riding the shuttle got us there in plenty of time.
Let me ask you, Jeff, it's Brian. This is a huge rivalry. You're talking about, years past and all. Did you get any sense? Time has passed. Let's, be fair. Do you think the younger people, the student body, all of that, is this rivalry something that's rekindled? Did they feel it? Is it? Was there a sense of that? Did you get any of that while you were there?
I did, yeah. And Bowies and I both did. Like it. You could tell there was, just that sense in the air. Like this was a game for both sides. Like, I think both fan bases were as loud as they could be, and at every play, every good and bad play, were either cheering or groaning. You could definitely feel it. There was more to this game than just a regular game on the schedule. A non-conference game on the schedule. There was definitely something to it.
Well, from your perspective, did you think the Husker fans were well represented or a little light?
I kind of thought a little light. I mean, that one section that was obviously where they sold the Husker tickets to,
right,
was blanketed in red. Obviously, once you left that, there was just sporadic pockets. Even walking around the outside or coming through the gates, it wasn't like you were running into constant Husker people. I anticipated, I guess, that I thought there would be more than that. I guess I really did. I thought you'd have a little more representation.
Jeff, do you feel like that directly contributed to the outcome of the game? If we had more red
maybe,
there, would this have been a different ballgame?
Yeah, we could have quieted things down for Sims a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Well, from your photos, I saw some Husker fans wearing white, and I didn't understand that.
Yeah. I didn't understand, anybody wearing anything other than red. I mean, when you're in an opponent's stadium, like, I don't know why you wouldn't just represent red as hard as you could.
Yeah, I mean, the white stuff said Husker on it, but anyway.
Late in the game, were there any paper bags at all? Did you see any paper bags over the heads?
I did not. I did. I saw a lot of low-hanging heads, but not a lot of paper bags.
But no paper bags. They'll be prepared for the next game, I'm afraid. Okay.
Well, if you've got time, Jeff, we'll just to hang with us. We'll just we're missing Carl. Our third leg of the stool. He normally brings whiskey. We do Carl's Whiskey Corner.
Connection, yes.
If there's any game really that we are desperately in need of whiskey, it is definitely after this one. So
right. He let you down.
Yeah, he did. So, but I've got a beer, Lewis and Clark Brewery. Got the Prickly Pear, rocking it again this week. And Brian, what do you got?
Well, I've got a delicious Pilsner, as I always do.
There you go.
I'm glad I stocked up because they're currently out.
Well,
but I'm sure another batch will be in the hopper soon.
I'm certain. And hopefully you are enjoying a refreshing beverage, Jeff.
I do. I have my last Prickly Pear from the last group that I commandeered from you. So
that's awesome.
Prickly Pear here.
Well, you have a reason to make a trip to Montana, Absolutely. My friend.
I do. Yeah, I should have figured that out quicker by now. The faster I drink, the more reason I got to go back.
That's right. And I will make sure you are loaded down. Make sure you know the weight limit on your truck.
He's going to have a U-Haul when he comes out.
Yeah. No kidding.
All right. So what we normally do is we kind of go over the news items, and there's not a lot, not a lot this week really of pure news, and then we're going to go over and recap the Colorado game. Be great to get your input on that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about, at that point, our quarterback situation. And then we're going to obviously preview the upcoming game with NIU. So if you're up for hanging with us for a little while, we'll keep you on the line.
Yeah, I'm good.
Awesome.
Well,
there's no right or wrong answers, by the way, Jeff. You feel free to speak up.
Well, that's good, because I will tip the scale to the wrong answer.
Well, we all love our Huskers, so it's easy to give a wrong answer. But so in pure Husker news, some of the things I pulled out, obviously Huskers dropped to 0-2 with the loss to the Buffaloes, 36-14. 4 turnovers in that game, basically repeated the problems that they had last week. Quarterback Jeff Sims' injury doesn't appear to be a true high ankle sprain, Coach Rhule had said, and to him, it doesn't appear to be one of those that you're automatically be out like 5 weeks or more.
Right. And we just had a little update within the last hour or so that he will be practicing this evening, although he's been off the rest of the week.
Oh, okay. Well, Coach Rhule said that Sims is still the starting QB, but he must protect the ball better. And then, so the question is, it sounds like he'll probably be able to go, but if not, there seems to be some question whether it's Heinrich Haarberg or Chubba Purdy would take the start if Jeff Sims can't go. But probably Heinrich Haarberg. Coach Rhule also said in his interview, you just, as the entire team, basically, you cannot lose 36-14 when the score is 13-7 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter.
It takes effort to lose.
Yeah, you just can't.
That. Yeah.
That's not just, I think you just wanted, that's not just a quarterback issue. That is everyone.
Well, and then defense got tired. We'll get into that, but
yeah. Well, then you have Northern Illinois Huskies come to Lincoln this Saturday. This is after a loss last week in a rivalry game. They did beat in week 1 Boston College, and their coach Thomas Hammock cites they have a strong defense and a healthy team as positives that they're going to be bringing to Lincoln, and he just says they need to improve their QB protection and running game. So those are kind of the news items. Anything else anyone has heard? BB, you hear anything?
Well, like I said, just that Sims is going to be well enough to practice tonight. But we've been saying the same. I've been saying the same thing. I certainly would look to be getting Heinrich or Chuba in there. Yeah, get them in a series, if at least here and there or something. And after the last outing, obviously the turnovers it's just huge. You can't win against anyone if you're doing that.
Right. And Jeff, you probably had some sports radio on the way home from work this evening, and you're in the heartland there. Have you, other than what we've said, have you heard anything else? Any other news items?
No, not a ton. I was trying to look today a little earlier. I know Rhule said that Chuba's a little nicked up or something, but I never really have heard what may be ailing him at all.
Yeah, earlier in the week, I heard him say that he had sort of a hamstring issue, and then he had also done something to his thumb, and that may be the reason that he did not go in, and Harburg went in favor of him, but I don't know for sure. It seems like he's had some nagging injuries.
He does have hand issues.
Purdy?
The grip. He's got a problem with his grip, I think. That's good.
Well, then that kind of does it for our news items, and we're going to, if I had some really sad music to play for this section of the show, maybe this section of the show should be sponsored by the local mortuary. But it was rough for me watching. I'm sure for you watching, Brian. It had to be really rough for you and the boys in the stadium in the heart of the enemy. How was that, Jeff, taking the loss there in Boulder?
Oh, I think it was, I don't know, it was kind of like eating a spicy bowl of chili. At first it wasn't so bad and you thought you'd make it through. And then by the end of the third quarter, it was just like, man, your gut burn. Just watching them in that first quarter, just shooting themselves in the foot. When you're looking at it thinking, fellas, we should be winning this game, not just tied 0-0, and just praying that somehow they would come up with some life, and then it just never was happening.
Right. That's an excellent analogy, though. I like the hot chili bowl.
I like it too.
It kind of, and then the next morning you're paying the price again. It never goes away.
That's kind of what it felt like, honestly.
Yeah, it really did.
But I agree with you, Jeff. I'm sitting there going, we have messed this up so bad, and yet we're a touchdown away from leading this game at 6 minutes left in the third quarter. And then it's like the dam just broke. Yeah. And I think you're right, BB. The defense got tired. The spirit broke.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was just too many turnovers.
When you're a defensive player and you're out there and performing exceptionally well, I thought for a great part of the game. We really did. We got to the quarterback. Our corner play was pretty good.
Yeah, we lead the nation in sacks right now.
Yeah. But, you get into that third quarter and we just, the turnovers, and we're handing them scores, and we're in scoring opportunities and we're losing those.
Yeah, turn it over twice within our 30, I believe.
Yeah,
just
special
giving
teams
them,
wasn't good.
Yeah.
It was just, defense, you can't expect them to perform at that level just throughout the whole game when everything else is falling apart.
I mean, I'm going to jump in and grade on a pass-fail. And I would say defense is a pass. I'm not going to hold against them the letdown at the end. They stuck with a very explosive Colorado team, explosive offense, an extremely good quarterback and very good receiver. And they hung with them. They shut them down. They sacked them a bunch.
Yeah.
And they definitely get a passing grade. Special teams went from a very strong first game showing to a failing grade on all aspects of special teams, from returns to field goals and to punts. And obviously that breaks our heart because we have our Helena native, but it was just a bad day for everyone. Sure. They seem to be off. and kind of, obviously was heartbreaking when the Nebraska native kicks his first field goal and it hits the upright. It's like it just would have been so awesome for him if it would have went through.
Sure.
And then the offense, that's an absolute fail. And the first week we were concerned with, I was definitely concerned with Jeff Sims' ability to read coverage. And if he can't read the coverage, he's going to continue to throw interceptions. We saw that. And then I actually said after last week's game that I was not concerned about his ball handling ability because I saw him in the spring game, and then I saw him when he fielded that one bounce off the grass and threw the touchdown pass in week 1. I thought he had shown some really good ability to handle that ball with his hands, and then to just inexcusably drop those snaps. I don't understand it.
Well, and not to fall on him when you do drop him. It's Jeff, could you just feel the energy leave the state? I guess not when you're on the road, but did the team just fall flat going into that fourth quarter, especially?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with the two turnovers that were inside the 30. Like, make you give that defense a lot of grace because. Yeah, maybe they weren't super long drives or we held them to a field goal and a touchdown there, but like the stress that puts on those guys' body when they go out there and they know if they break, then they're screwed. And I think that as much as anything takes it out of them. When they are thrown on the field, especially inside your 30 against that type of offense, like the stress level that had to accumulate on them just for those two turnovers had to be outrageous.
Yep.
But I mean, as soon as we made that first drive and Sims dropped that snap, and then like I say, he just reaches down to pick it up. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. You got to fall on that ball,
Yeah.
Then, I mean, I don't think our crowd ever got back into it because there was never ever a spark after that.
Right.
You have the missed field goal, you have all that stuff. We never got a spark to bring our crowd back into it, really, Well,
we're going to narrow in on our QB position sort of at the end of our Colorado game review, but let's listen to Coach Rhule, just kind of his thoughts on the game at his presser right after.
First of all, a lot of credit to them. They are well put together. They're well put together, fast, dynamic, explosive. Sean Lewis with the offense does a great job, and a lot of credit to Coach Sanders and his team. They played well today. As I was walking off the field, one of their longtime coaches who I've coached against many times, he said, "Hey, Coach, uncharacteristic of your teams, you have that many turnovers and give so many plays away. I think 17 points off turnovers, and that's the same thing as last week. So, I'll be honest, I really think we're better than we're showing. But what does that mean? That's just words. So, I told the team, we're gonna get this right. I'm going to get this right. We'll get the offense right. We'll get the turnovers right. I thought the defense played really hard and well for long stretches, and then eventually just kind of wore out. But I thought we were able to control the line of scrimmage some with some power running game in the first half, but had the ball in the red zone twice, and yet again came away with no points. So really the same tale as last week, just versus probably a little bit more explosive offense that got away with. The game got away from us.
Then I think you fields a question on the QB. Jeff, can you hear this audio?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good.
I don't know. I don't know anything other than they said, hey, look, maybe like a high ankle, and then he wanted to go back in. I didn't see any really point of putting him in there. Obviously, we all of us have to take care of the ball better. It's two places that we've been that have been pretty loud, and so some of our speed sweep snap time, we've never had those issues before. We hit one. We were going to go for. We weren't going to kick a field goal. We were going to go for it on fourth down. We had it lined up third down, fourth down. Hey, we're going to pound the football here. We felt like we were starting to control the line of scrimmage, but the silent cadences and the gun with the motion really hurt us and kind of took some of that away from us. Some of the communication up front, some of the big hits in the background, the communication of what the play was. So I really have to do a deeper dive to look into sort of everything that happened. But, Jeff will be the first guy to say, well, we can't have that many turnovers, especially down in the red zone where they are. And, we turned the ball over twice inside our own 30, which led to points. So, again, that's why I say, I know everyone's going to be, as they should, upset and panicked and all those things. We're better than we're showing. But that's just words, and we have to put that into action.
Thoughts on Coach Rhule, Jeff? And what he said?
I'll say one thing about him. I do like he doesn't mince, he doesn't hide from anything. I'll give him credit for that. He puts it out there and then he says, that it's just words and they got to fix it. I do appreciate him.
Right.
Going that way with it.
One observation, we all preseason, all camp, all that we're listening to. We got fullbacks, and we're going to go under center, and we're going to go with the power run, and we're going to. And I just haven't seen it. I mean, I think I am not seeing us run those formations. I'm not seeing him under center. Coach Rhule right there is talking about pounding it in. I felt like we're controlling the line of scrimmage. If you feel that you are, and you've been talking about this power run, old-timey football, which I'm a huge fan of, honestly. And I think we at that juncture of the game, I think we're pretty effective. Why aren't we bringing in a big fullback and going under center and just smacking them in the mouth and going straight ahead? We haven't seen it, but we heard a lot of talk about it before these last two games.
Right. Well, Coach Rhule even mentioned in another segment that he wants to rush for 250 yards a game and thinks we can be doing that. Well, I'll tell you what, if we're rushing for 250 yards a game, and I have not seen that in quite a while, we're going to be winning a lot of games.
Yeah, definitely. I know the boys and I even said that during the game, like when you bring that up about running the ball, like we were kind of running it with more of a heavy line and some tight ends, and we kind of started going away from that. And I don't remember which one of the boys said it, but they're like, I would have just stayed right with that.
Well, that's a smart boy you got there, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, that was my feeling too.
Well, our biggest run was really when both their linebackers bit and went the wrong way, and Sims made that run for the touchdown. Absent that, I don't know that we get that run.
Well, I felt going into this Colorado game that was our best strategy, was to control the football, run a lot, try to beat them up front, and I thought our line matched up pretty well against theirs if we'd have stayed with that.
Well, then we had go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just saying I thought the same. I thought a heavy run game would have been the numero uno strategy for Colorado.
Yeah, I especially thought that since I didn't think he could read a defensive coverages. But so then we had this crazy, weird thing with the Colorado QB that there was this whole disrespect thing. So this is Coach Rhule addressing that.
Some players took some offense to you guys going out to the middle of the field before the game on Saturday. Any thoughts from you, or is it something you guys did in Minnesota, something you typically do at the start?
We do it every stadium. We go there, we pray for blessings. When they came in, I asked them if they wanted to, I asked Shedeur if he wanted to pray with us. I pray over every, I'm a public official, but I can have my own faith. And I say pray, we take a moment of team, it's non-denial. We have Muslim guys, we have non-believers. We just take a moment as a team and I want that field to be safe for everybody. At the end of the game, no one's going to tell me who I am. At the end of that game, they told me, hey, we're going to run right off the field, and they're going to storm the field. I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't care if I get beaten up by a mob. I'm running across that field, and I'm shaking Coach Sanders' hand. So no, people can say when you're losing, people are going to say all kinds of things about you. I know exactly who I am. And I'm coaching this team with class, and I'm not changing. And I went over there and I shook that man's hand. I whispered in his ear, and I've never disrespected an opponent a day in my life and never will.
I really liked that response. I thought it was very respectful and very appropriate. Jeff, did you see
Yeah,
anything at the game? I'm sure you were probably in there, but pregame a little bit anyway, or were you? Did you happen to see any of that?
I didn't catch any of that. If it was going, I mean, we did see some of the pregame. I'll be honest, I was watching Bashini a lot more during pregame than anything. So I definitely didn't catch it. Nobody around me did. Like, it didn't seem like there was any type of altercation out there.
I don't believe it. I think Sanders is a showboat.
Yeah, I think it was all staged.
It's a shame because I don't think he has to. I think he's a talented football player, coach. Obviously, he's shown, but the prime time, all of the rest of it, he just can't get away from it. And clearly, his kids have got the same. So
I mean, it's rumored. Obviously, he's building a name for himself. It's rumored he's making over $3 million in NIL.
Kid, yeah, sure,
amazing.
Hey, you mentioned something. Let me ask about our Helena native. So, in the pregame, did you see anything that would suggest an injury, or that he wasn't? Was he hitting the big boomers before the game?
He was hitting them before the game. I was totally shocked to see what was happening during the game.
He just didn't look like himself at all. I obviously we've watched him grow up out here, and it just didn't look like he was getting any energy into the punts at all in that first half.
Well, and maybe
it was. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I surely didn't catch anything that was like, ooh, that doesn't look right. Or I watched all the pregame and I had zero concern. Like, nothing ever crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's not an injury and it's just a bad half of football, because you know what, that happens to everybody. So
it sure does, and it happened pretty much to the entire team except our defense. Yeah. So, if you're going to have a bad game, I guess everyone might as well do it at the same time. And
that's true.
Get it out of your system and get back at it.
Well, and speaking of that, maybe we got some of the turnovers out of our system. We're the eternal optimists at Nebraska, right?
I think we should have our turnovers for the year.
I think we've
out of our system, for the love of God. So I knew, obviously, unfortunately, one of the things I predicted, which kind of came true, was there were some people out there, if we lost, already calling for comparisons and why didn't we hire a Deion Sanders, instead of Coach Rhule, and look at what he's done with his program from 1-11, now 2-0, and the eyes of the nation. I mean, I saw ESPN Game Day is going there, I believe, this week. So national coverage for 3 weeks in a row. I mean, it's just over the top.
You notice they're not going there for the USC game. They're going to go watch them beat up on a lesser opponent up the road at Colorado State. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's Coach Rhule on kind of the program.
This is kind of what you get when you hire me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you kind of get. Like, it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be, we believe, built to last. It's going to be built on rock. And so we take advantage of these. We take advantage of these painful moments. We sit there and want to say to our goal right now is to say to ourselves as a coaching staff, in 3 years, we did our best coaching these weeks. So I understand if there's frustration. I understand if there's like, man, why, but we're trying to learn how to win. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to learn how to win, and that's everything. So obviously, can you turn the ball over 4 times and win? No, I get that, right?
So that's just a little bit on the two different programs, and I'll ask you first, Jeff. Could Nebraska have a coach? I mean, let me back up. We would love to be 2-0 instead of 0-2, but could Nebraska have a coach that's larger than the program, a personality that's larger than the program? Deion Sanders is so much larger than Colorado and Colorado football. Could Nebraska stand to have that?
I don't think so. I think the tradition is too deep here. You saw people like Bill Callahan come in and step away from traditions and stuff, and I really don't. I don't think Nebraska would be able to take the bravado that he carries.
I agree with you. I mean, I would love to be 2-0, and I am impressed with what Coach Sanders has done to turn that program around. But I don't think I would want the program that I love being outshined by any coach. And BB, your thoughts?
Well, Coach Sanders had some advantages that aren't going to last, even if he stays at Colorado. He brought his son, who's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. He brought a lot of those players with him. He had an immediate draw. And as years go by, if he stays at Colorado, he's going to have a personality to draw people in. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to bring in an entire new team like he did this season. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of the year. I think they'll have a good season, but they're still not one of the elite programs in the country. I think if we played mistake-free football out there, we're in a real dogfight for a win in that game. So other than our obvious glaring mistakes, I think that's a much, much, much closer football game than it ended up being.
Well, I certainly agree with that, and I'll go back. I guess it's a good time to when Jeff knows that we do the Montana tradition of is it true gold or fool's gold, and
right.
And unfortunately I had to go against my heart, and Nebraska winning out there I had to say was fool's gold and not going to happen, and unfortunately it turned out to be true. And my biggest fear was we would go out there and get blown out, which arguably, I mean, we did, even though it was late in the game. And you can point to some good things, but we kind of got taken to the woodshed, which is very frustrating and something I did not want to happen. But I hope that we can, learn from this and regroup as a team.
Sure. And hopefully we will. We're at home. We're at home for 3 weeks. That's something.
Yes.
So, I mean, as we look forward, which is all you can do in any sport, but especially college football, if you spend too much time looking backwards, you're going to get bit.
Right.
Let's just hope the Huskies don't bite us this Saturday.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought. And obviously I can only make a prediction or on what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing out of Colorado is and going into that game, the first game of the year was they look like a hell of a talented team, and I don't know how he put a team together that could function as well as they did when most of your players arrived in August. Yep. So I have to give him huge creds for that, and I certainly don't like the idea of motivating your team by making the other team out to be a villain and making stuff up, about the other team to create animosity. I don't like that style, but I cannot argue with the talent that he's brought in and how he's quickly made that mesh and put it to use. And I'll put it to you, Jeff, for kind of your final thoughts on the Colorado match, and we'll put that ugly scene to bed.
Yeah, I think I will be interested to see if Dion can sustain it. I do look forward to seeing them hit some adversity and see what happens then, because when it's all going good and it's fun, it's great. When you hit that wall and stuff, it'll be interesting. I really think I truly think Nebraska, and it's not a homer deal. I mean, just by watching those two games, they have a quality enough team to be 2-0 right now. And they very well should have been going 4-0 to walk into that Michigan game. So, the little hiccups, we just got to take them, and I think Colorado is very fortunate to have played us this last week versus down the line this year, or even, come a rematch next season.
Right. I agree with you on that.
BB, your final thoughts on the Colorado game? I guess we should all speak now and then forever hold our peace about that game.
I just want I'm with both of you guys. I just want to put it behind me. maybe it'll be good motivation for next year.
Yeah, that's true. And I had to add a little humor to it and put out some secret recordings from our on the field or on campus reporter, secret on campus reporter, Charlie, and he sent me another recording, and this was in the locker room after the game in the Nebraska locker room. So we'll play that.
Come on, all right, everybody. That's what I'm talking about, guys. We've made a great effort so far. Let's just keep it up.
That's right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to just keep our composure.
I think that's a good message for all of us right now.
Was that Jeff with the boys at the game? That was the second half.
That was Nate. That was Nate. He's trying to keep Nate quiet.
Nate Wood. Now you haven't. Nate's got like the deepest voice of all of them, and he's the youngest. Oh no, I'm sorry. No.
That's Jack.
So
yeah.
Nate was going crazy. Oh, I thought maybe it was Jack. But Nate's got a future, I think, in sports broadcasts if he wants it. He's very knowledgeable.
He is. He's something, I tell you.
And he is.
We are on the show.
We are going to, and I talked to him about it. Well, I sent him to the spring game, and Jeff went to, and you guys froze in that spring game to try to get us a little info. Yeah,
we won that one.
Yeah, we did win the spring game.
One. Yeah,
and man, Sims looked good in that one.
Boy, didn't he?
Well, we have again the Northern Illinois Huskies coming to Lincoln this Saturday.
Is it Illinois or Illinois?
Oh, Illinois. I'm sorry,
Jeff. What's your?
It's Illinois.
Input?
I'm sorry.
The tiebreaker. What's Illinois or Illinois?
I go with Illinois.
Illinois. Okay.
It's Illinois.
Illinois.
I made an error. Thank you for.
No.
I could have just cut it out, but now
honestly,
thank you for
I think
pointing
there's
it out.
parts of the country that call it Illinois.
Yeah,
so
I could have just blipped that out, but no, thank you for pointing out my.
I'm just curious. It's a learning moment, Rick.
So this was kind of a neat little take on Coach Rhule. He was kind of asked about what it means to him to coach at Nebraska, and especially like going into his first home game.
It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. I came here for a reason. I came here because I wanted to raise my kids here, as I've said. I came here because I believe in this place and the leadership. And I came here because I know what University of Nebraska means to college football. And we made a decision to build it the right way, in a way that would adequately represent the values of Nebraska. And so while we're not getting the result we want right now, doesn't mean I'm at all deterred. Whereas I know some people are like, man, it's been like, however many years of this. For me, it's 2 games. 2 games of what we're trying to build. And so I'm so excited to come home. And I'll just say this, I just sat, I was almost late. They were panicking because I was just sitting there kicking it with Luke Reimer for 30 minutes. The fact that he's bought into what we do on defense, without knowing if it would work or not, and having a lot of success in another defense, I hope people understand what he's done for me, what he's done, he's helped me make this transition. So, yeah, I absolutely love it here. Hope that we're here for a long time, and being there, my wife, my kids, it'll be special for me.
Are you a big stadium guy? When you watch?
I like this man. I like what he's doing with our program. I'm glad it's in his hands. Thoughts, BB?
No, he's a class act. There's no doubt about it. On and off the field, I like what he's doing. We talk X's and O's in football, but we all three know these are young men who most of them, this will be their football, and they'll get on with life. And there's a lot more important things that you learn from a program than just winning. And hopefully they're all getting good life lesson from this guy who I think is a class act.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, any thoughts on what you heard Coach Rhule say?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I pray, and I know how, especially the media around here gets, and the fans, even after game 1,
right.
I think, his track record proves that you give this man a chance. He doesn't shy away from the hurdles and the obstacles. He acknowledges the pain that the fans are going through, and I really do. I think he is being honest too when he talked to his wife that they don't want to move again with their kids, and he's kind of been through that ringer already. And I think giving him time and letting him build a program and will pay us dividends.
Well, I don't know if you remember, Brian, but one of our early podcasts, I said, must have been the first one. I said, if we are 0-2 at the start of the season, it's going to get rough. And I wonder how bad, how bad is it, Jeff, when you're hearing, I know you've got a job you've got to do and don't probably get to listen to a lot of sports radio, but on your drives and stuff like that, what is the tenor? Is everybody, you're always going to have your outliers, but is it just the outliers, or is there a swell for like he better replace the quarterback, and then a smaller like contingent that are like, is this the right coach, or what? How would you gauge that tenor?
Well, I think it's definitely morphed over the 2 weeks. So week 1, it was, oh, here he is again. This guy, it was all Rhule.
Okay.
Not being able to coach him right and not be able to get that job done, to where then after this Colorado game, it's all, we need to move on Sims and it's definitely not so much banter about Rhule, but if Rhule comes up, it just comes up to, is he going to be smart enough to, bench Sims or something like that? It's definitely more riding on Sims this week.
Well, that's a good segue into sort of a section on Nebraska's quarterback issue and how we all feel about that. And I do think there are people that's the biggest question. Who's going to take the field this Saturday? What do you think, BB?
Well, it sounds like if Sims is healthy, it's going to be him. And this, I sound like a stuck record, but I'm going to stick with it. I just really think platooning these quarterbacks would really be a great first-year approach to clearly a turnover problem that Sims has and has had in the past. Depending on the game situations or the series, why aren't, bring in Harburg and bring in Purdy and give him a series or two. If nothing else, if Sims goes down hurt, you've at least prepared his backup. He's got some game experience, can go out there and play. So I don't know why we're not doing it. I think we should. I know you don't want to just devastate a kid, but you're fumbling, turning the ball over this much. I do think it's time, if maybe not a permanent replacement, but just work the other guys in.
Right. Well, selecting a quarterback is arguably the most important thing a new staff or any staff can do. And unfortunately, it seems like, they've missed it on this one.
I think so.
And I said this in another podcast, I was a little surprised when Coach Rhule said that he was unaware of Sims's interception stats. And that then he went, and that was brought up by the Big Ten media when they came to a camp day this fall. And he said he went back and looked at the tape, and a lot of those were not on Sims. And he had really, at least he said he was unaware that he had that, and kind of led the nation in turnovers. And so that was troubling, frankly.
Sure.
And so for whatever reason, they picked Sims to come in, and it does not bode well for the staff that he continues to have those problems, which they should have been aware of, that he had that coming in. So they failed to fix that. And now, in the first 2 games anyway, he's shown that he continues to do this. And I don't have the specifics on this, but in some guy put this national table together and pulled these stats, and Sim actually leads the nation in another type of turnover stats. So, I mean, it's bad.
Sure.
And so then the question is, how long will they stay with him? But I guess the question I would pose maybe to you, Jeff, is or just your comments on what's been said, and then this is I feel that if they still firmly believe Sims is their guy, then I say let him play. Now, if they're starting to, and I would say maybe they have damn good reason to begin to question whether he should be the guy, and maybe look at him as a wide receiver or something like that. I don't know, but then they should give these next 2 games to whoever they believe can lead this team throughout the rest of the season. If they think Sims is the guy through the rest of the season, then leave him in and hopefully he gets better. If they're questioning or deciding that he's not the guy, then I think they need to sit him and move on to someone else and stick with that. But I toss it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, when I look back at Scott Frost in that nightmare, hitching his wagon to Adrian Martinez, and then never letting go of that. And that lends a little bit to maybe what's going on with Rhule, is that Scotty didn't quite leave us with as many dishes in the cupboard as what he thought he had. So, but I also think a competition has to be a competition. And if Chuba or Harburg aren't at that level, that's so sad. Like, we can lose with somebody else who's at least put in effort and not putting the ball on the ground. Like, in those 2 games, if we have somebody who kind of manages the game, we might win those 2 games.
Oh, for sure.
So, these guys don't have to be Shadur Sanders. They just got to manage the game and not give the ball to the other team inside our 30 twice.
Right.
But I look back to and I mean, you're talking different caliber of players, but in a national championship game, Nick Saban took out Jalen Hurts and put in Tua Tagovailoa, who was a freshman, at halftime because they were losing.
Right.
So obviously up to that point, Hurts had been the one that shined in practice and should have looked to be the number one. But he wasn't performing. He was messing things up. Sometimes you just got to roll the dice and go with it. It could have blew up in Saban's face. Fortunately for them, it didn't, and they won it. But
good point.
I think you got to put the pressure on. I mean, if you have, because that's what happened to Martinez. I truly believe he had no competition.
Right.
So what motivates him to get better? There ain't nobody coming off the bench to replace him. So I think you got to at least put that heat on him.
Well, I know you recently watched that day-by-day series, and one of the things I was struck in there by then is Tom Osborne's desire to win, and he was a winning coach, but he hadn't won the national championship, and so in his first opportunity then, and after losing to Florida State, and the next year getting back, he played 2 different quarterbacks. He had 2 quarterbacks that were battling for the job, and one who had been injured. Now Tommy Frazier's back off injury, but he basically said, you're both going to play. And when Frazier did better in camp, and so they put him in or in preparation for the bowl game. So they started him, and when he faltered, he was replaced, and then ended up going back in the game and then doing well. I do think you're right that sometimes coaches can get 100% bought in, and it would be a lot to admit for Coach Rhule and his staff to say, man, the guy that we went out and picked to come in and lead this program as quarterback is got problems and can't do it. BB, your thoughts?
No, I hear you. You're both right, and you just wonder. You'd like to be a fly on the wall and hear what those conversations is. That they just really don't have confidence in either Heinrich or Chuba.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get to see. You're right. Ultimately, it's the coach. It's the head coach's decision, with help from his staff, and they get to see everything that's going on in practice. We don't get to see that. We get to see games, and very little practice stuff.
Sure.
And hear what leaks out and things. But what's more important, performance at practice or performance in a game? And what we're seeing right now is repeated performance that is indicative of the problem that he came in with at Georgia Tech. So how do we believe that's going to change? I mean, is are we going to get some pixie dust and sprinkle it over and suddenly that it's going to be gone? I mean, come on.
I think Jeff hit it on the head. Essentially, you're saying we don't need maybe the quarterback to win the game for us. We just need him to not lose it for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just let others win the game if we need to. But and if you do drop the damn ball, just drop on it, just fall on it, fight for it.
Yeah, please.
I mean,
Exactly.
show some. Yeah, almost a lackadaisical approach to bending over, and that bothered me too, because if you do happen to drop the football, good heavens, I would expect to see, just like your life dependent on it, dive in on that thing, fighting for it. So,
Well, it is funny.
I did catch. Did you catch Rhule commenting on that Ron Brown brought it up to him that we don't teach him, coach, to jump on the ball because we tell them to stay away from it in practice so they don't get hurt. So that they got to come up with a fumble drill just for the quarterback so they don't get hurt. But I mean, it kind of goes back to the old adage: no matter how many restrictions they keep putting on this, it's the practice, it's the hitting, it's the tackling. We saw that when Frost left. The defense started tackling in practice, and we're better at it. So it's one of those things that you can sit there and say they played this game since they were in little league, 7, 8 years old. But if you don't practice that, you lose those skills. And I think that was an important point that they made. I'm glad Ron Brown said that to him. But
no, that's it made me think of in different aspects of life and different careers and fields. I mean, if you're training something that doesn't work in the real world, in the real fight, and there's a lot of in law enforcement and military, there's a lot of things that you might do out of convenience, like when you're on the range or whatever, and suddenly you realize, whoa, people then that are in these situations for real are reverting to doing things that they learned in training. So you have to stop that. You have to get that out of training. You have to, you're not putting, you're putting cartridges on the ground and shell casings on the ground. You're not worrying about that stuff, and you're dumping magazines, and you're doing you're training exactly the way you would be in the fight. And anything you're training that is bad in the fight, you got to stop it. So that was great insight by Coach Brown. But
yeah.
Well, we're ready to move into the NIU matchup, and I've got a couple three little clips from their head coach, Coach Thomas, goes by Hammock, and so we'll listen to Coach Ham a little bit here.
So we're playing a Nebraska team that's big, that's physical, that play the game the right way, and we have a tremendous challenge this week. Have a lot of respect for Coach Rhule. One of my good friends, Frisman Jackson, worked for him at a couple different places, and said nothing but good things about him. So, I think we understand how they want to play. They want to beat you up in the trenches. They want to be physical. They want to try to dominate you. And so for us, we have to make sure, number one, we rotate a lot of guys, keep guys fresh, for the physical pounding that's about to happen on Saturday night. And then, find a way to execute at a higher level. Obviously, we work crowd noise today. We feel like that's going to be a factor in the game. So trying to get our guys as locked in as possible to be able to handle the crowd noise, to be able to handle the environment where we can give ourselves a chance to compete at a high level. So I'm excited about this week. I think our players are excited about this week. Got some young men from Nebraska on our team who's happy to go back and compete. And I think we will go out there and compete with everything we got. I believe in this team. I believe in the leadership, the maturity of our football team. And what happened last week will not affect us how we play this week. And we'll be ready to roll.
Jeff, any thoughts after hearing Coach Ham that first recording?
It'd be very interesting if we're going to control the trenches. Like, if we're actually going to run the ball and be physical, it'd be a pleasant surprise.
I would sure hope so. This isn't. I've had the chance to go back now and watch the last two games. These guys aren't a pushover. I mean, we should win this game. We should dominate them in the front. Just athleticism, size. We should be able to run the football against them. Having said that, if we fumble the football 6 or 7 times, all bets
Right.
are off. I mean, but this is not a terrible football team. They know how to tackle. They do hit people. I know you've got some other clips here, but
Right.
we better take this Saturday
Right.
seriously.
This is Coach Ham, a short one on kind of his game plan, or
You know what? We may have to get speed and space. So, we got to do some things differently. We need to find a way to get our run game going, where you take pressure off the quarterback, and then we you know what? We may have to get speed and space. So, we got to do some things differently. We got to be a little more balanced. We may need to throw to set up the run, and that's fine. So, whatever it takes to play better and more efficient on offense, we're going to try to do, because our defense is playing too well right now to not take advantage of that.
Yeah,
Coach Ham was not repeating himself there. That was I got to get after the audio guy on this show. That should have been edited.
Well, I will say this is a running football team that uses the run to set up the pass, from what I could see. Their quarterback is athletic. Lombardi's his name, so he's good at football.
Oh, it has to be.
Has to be. They got a running back, Brown, who's very, very talented. So, and especially in the Boston College game, I think there were 3 turnovers to the advantage of Northern Illinois. They picked off a couple of passes in that game. So they're, again, if we turn the ball over, this is an opportunistic team. They scored off of both of those turnovers, so we just can't afford to do that.
All right, and here's the last one on Coach Ham, and just kind of talking about, I believe, protecting the QB.
It takes everybody on offense working together to protect the quarterback, and that's what we have to get to. I mean, we didn't have any sacks the first game. We gave up 4 the second game. So, we have to clean that up. And Nebraska is one of the top, I think they lead the country in sacks. So they got a tremendous D-line that's going to create pressure. They got linebackers that's going to plug gaps. So we got a tremendous challenge to protect our quarterback. And that's where it starts. And then obviously as receivers running the right routes and the quarterback getting the ball out on time or making the right checks, depending on the pressure that he sees. But we have to make sure we protect the quarterback, because the hardest job on the football field is the quarterback position. I think it goes without saying. So we all have to sell out to protect the quarterback, make him feel comfortable where he can distribute the football.
So it's kind of interesting. I thought that, they kind of have some of the same questions and weaknesses that we have. They have a strong defense, strong defensive line.
They do.
They have issues on their offensive line, and they at least last week they had some sack issues, and certainly Nebraska seems to have the same strong defense, questionable offensive line that's been struggling and trying to improve, and then their offense didn't get it done last week, and our offense hasn't gotten it done the last 2 weeks. Thoughts, BB?
Well, I agree with you everywhere, except I think our offensive line has actually been fairly respectful. They had some weak moments at times, but I think we're improved from last year, I think, on the O-line. This team is a team we should dominate. The way we match up against them, I think we should. But it's just been really hard this season, these first 2 games, because those turnovers are the great equalizer. You can't beat anybody if you're turning the ball over, throwing interceptions. If that is a pattern that continues, pray God it isn't. But if that's a pattern that continues, it's hard to predict any of these games with a positive outcome.
Well, I guess I'll throw out to Jeff. I'll cut in a question. Given the fact that was quarterback Jeff Sims' history coming from, coming into Nebraska, And in the first 2 games, what we've seen are 8 turnovers for the team, but many of those on our quarterback. What hope do you have other than prayer, Jeff, that it's going to change?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I look at and Sims may be a great kid, and his athletic ability is there. I get it, but especially if we're looking for the future, like and he says we're building. Okay, unless that kid makes an absolute turnaround, I would hope that he's not your quarterback next year. So why aren't we going to use Harburg or somebody that could possibly be there? If we're hitting the ruts and we're accepting the ruts this year, well, let's accept them with this young quarterback. Let him make the mistakes and see if he can move into something that we can use, or do we need, I know we got some talent coming in the recruits, kid here out of Bellevue West. It's a 4-star. I just, I hate to say it because I don't want to be that way, but like you said, the trend is there. It's not like he snapped out of Georgia Tech and then came here. It's followed him. So I do hope that Rhule has the fortitude that like Frost never had to just move on and see what these other kids can do, whether it's Chuba or Harburg, and just be done with it. Just move on. Like if we're already accepting that this is going to be a headache season, then, let's see what the.
Really,
we ran into Smothers. When he hitched his wagon to Martinez, and then Smothers had to play in that Iowa game. Hell, Smothers almost beat him. Yeah. And had you given that kid some opportunities, if he had some game time experience leading up to that Iowa game, we would have beat him that year.
Exactly. I just don't want to see us, keep Sims in the next 2 games and look decent. Although I guess the fumbling stuff can happen. That really, regardless of who you're playing. So you want to see that improve. But reading the coverages against a lesser opponent may be different. But I don't want us to look, man, we looked great. Sims looks all fixed in the next 2 games. And then we play Michigan and we're back to the same old thing, dropping snaps and, not seeing the guy that's cutting in front of you and the receiver.
Well, Jeff brings up an excellent point, I think, is Sims your guy for the future? I mean, that's a difficult question you're going to have to ask yourself. Is he your guy next year?
Well, he was certainly their guy for this year because they went out and picked him.
I know, but what Jeff's saying is we got a couple of sophomores behind him that I thought Purdy actually didn't do too bad last year. I think he got put in some terrible situations. Whipple didn't help him
he got whippled. Jeff,
whippled.
On this show, we say he got whippled. Anytime you're left out to dry, you've been whippled.
We got you on, Jeff, because Whipple canceled on us again today. So
he doesn't seem to like that we've coined a phrase
Whippled.
after him.
But he's got his own hashtag now.
But Jeff's point is spot on. I mean, maybe one of those sophomores behind him is your guy next year. Yeah, maybe Purdy or the other, but you're not going to get him any game time experience if we just endure this.
Right.
And you're right. If I'm Rhule and we go through a season of this with Sims, I'm hitting the portal. I'm doing, he's not my guy. And you just got to cut bait and move on, I think.
Well, I think for bringing these younger guys in, like this defense is quality enough. Like just seeing a few clips of them, and I haven't watched a game like I did watching 2 games with Colorado, but this is a very opportunistic defense. They're like the coach said that their defense is playing too good to let them down. So if you brought in a young guy, he's going to have to work on this defense. This isn't just going to be some cupcake that he can mash up, and he's going to have to play ball. And I think that would be a perfect opportunity to see it. I mean, see what you got, especially if Sims is dinged up, let him sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got nothing.
No, I was going to say, I saw a stat today, a little article that Heinrich is actually faster than Sims. And there's people are talking, he can run with the ball. He's a good runner as well. So, he came in, he throws the ball. I'd like to see what he can do.
Does he fumble the ball?
Well,
yeah, they need some.
Let's find
snaps.
out, shall we? I mean, how much worse could it get?
Right.
All right. Well, I've one more video, and this is just briefly Coach Rhule on the matchup this week with NIU.
Here comes Northern Illinois, the Huskies out of the MAC. They've come in here before and beaten the Huskers. What's your early take on this team?
They're an excellent team. They went to Boston College, first game of the year, and beat Boston College at Boston College. I know they dropped a rivalry game this past weekend. They had 3 turnovers, but they're a physical offense that is creative, have an excellent quarterback, and they're excellent defensively. They've got a great defensive line. Northern Illinois knows how to win. They've gone on the road and beaten teams. They've come here and they've won, so should be a great game.
So sometimes I drag this out too much, so I'm going to ask. I'll ask Jeff first. Just give us any thoughts you have, and then your thoughts on if you have any remaining on Colorado, the quarterback situation, anything on the upcoming NIU game this weekend, and then as you know, being in Helena, which was developed on mining, we go with the true gold or fool's gold, and then at the end of your thoughts, just give us your prediction.
All right. I guess my overall thoughts is I still like the line play, offensive and defensive line. I do see that improvement there. Obviously, the defense is what keeps a person able to put a smile on your face with the team. I'll just reiterate, I think, play one of the other 2 guys. This is a perfect opportunity with a decent defense to put them under some pressure and see what we have in those 2 guys. Obviously, we, as Brian said, we should handle this team. I think our defense is good enough to really put a hurt on them. So definitely true gold. A prediction. That's without knowing who the quarterback's going to be, but I will say this should be probably a 38-14 victory for the Big Red.
I like it. BB, what do you got?
Well, I agree with a lot of what Jeff is saying, and this is a team we should dominate. God forbid we have the same turnover situation. This is an opponent that maybe we can overcome even that. I hope we don't have to. This just can't go on even, eternally this season. It's just going to be brutal. We're going to have nothing but whiskey hour here.
Exactly.
If this keeps going. But I think that's about right. I was thinking we might really have a breakout day. I'm sure these guys are just as frustrated as they can possibly get. I like that, about a 35-14 game or maybe even a bigger spread if we just really, I think Big Red is frustrated. I think there's a lot of guys out there just want to, get after it.
Well, again, Jeff, I think you're right that it's hard to predict like a score with not knowing who the QB is going to be. But I do think we need to celebrate. There's been a lot of negative stuff we've talked about in this podcast, and certainly going 0-2. It's a lot of negative right now on this season that had a lot of hopes with the new coach and new staff. However, we should celebrate that our defense is leading the nation in sacks. And so I think that's been a long time since that's happened. And I do believe that our defense will dominate NIU. I think they're a solid team. They're going to come in. They're going to play hard. They're going to really want to beat Nebraska. Their coach said they're healthy. They're going to rotate a lot of people. I don't think it will be as easy as you guys maybe have predicted. I think the defense, keeps us in the game. I do think Unfortunately, I don't think the offense gets it going as well as you guys hope. I just haven't seen any evidence of their ability to do that yet. I do believe they should move on with a quarterback just based on my limited amount of information that I have in 2 games, and then knowing that what Jeff Sims has done in these first 2 games is exactly what he did in his career up until now. So I don't believe there's no evidence to show that can change. So it's time to move on and get another quarterback established. And I would say 24-7 would be my final on the game. Any final thoughts, Jeff?
Not a whole lot. No, just praying for a little bit of a relaxing Saturday where you can watch some good football in the evening. And
wouldn't that
I'm
be
not
nice?
a whiskey guy, so I'd have to drown my sorrows some other way. But
well, I'll tell you what.
Hopefully I don't have to do that.
We need to win these next 2 games.
Sure.
If we drop one of these next 2 games, the whole conversation sinks to another low level.
I just want,
and I would hope at that time that there would be some okay, understand what the year is and some wholesale changes and don't be afraid to put anybody in. Like let's get game time. If we're building for next year, let's get them some experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, protect any red shirts that need to be protected, and get the 4 games of experience and anyone that could get some experience and.
Right.
And again, it's sad. None of us wanted and we still don't want another Husker season that has no bowl game, and is labeled that full rebuilding year. But if that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be.
Well, I just want to I really want to thank Jeff for being on the show. Very knowledgeable, a lot of good insight and local knowledge, and thank you for joining us. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah,
Jeff, keep me around, and I'll show you a whole different side. I'll bring that way down then, Brian.
Well, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for the pictures from Colorado, for giving us a flavor of what it was like to be in the stadium, and thank you for being a Husker fan that went out and suffered through that, because that could not have been easy. It wasn't easy in my living room, so it could not have been easy surrounded by Buffs fans. I mean, like I said, when we talked on the phone, I felt at points I was risking my life when I went there in the 90s and watched some games, and we won those. So it couldn't have been easy. Or maybe it was safer when the fact that they won. I don't know.
I think so.
But all right, gentlemen. Well, that'll wrap it up for us for this episode. And Ricky J for BB and Jeff. I guess cheers.
Cheers.
Are you going to say anything, Brian?
Bye. I thought you were signing off.
Are you going to say bye too? Sometimes we could say it.
I could say goodbye.
You could say goodbye.
Goodbye.
You could say cheers. You could say cheers.
Cheers to everyone out there. Will this be edited out?
Oh, definitely.
This will be out. Okay.
I edit out most of your stuff. No, all right.
He's replacing
Are you ready?
me with...
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.